just going to say the same thing about junior over the summer. I didn't want to, but when the school year started, everything was done, and it was the best decision.
To get praises.
I think the beginning of senior year for a lot of people was a lot more. Everyone talks about how stressful junior year is and how that's the hardest year in high school, but I know, like looking around and seeing everyone was a lot more stressed out at the beginning of senior year. That was rough. Up until like early decision and up until like January, everyone was pretty stressed out. So definitely getting it done early would be extremely helpful.
I always say it's like having another class on your schedule, right? Don't you think? At least another English class, right? You're doing all this writing, especially if you're applying multiple places. You mind the additions. Other questions? Yes.
I know a lot of you, and I know a lot of you applied for early decision, and you knew where you wanted to go, and the decision was made, and you got accepted, and that was great. I have a senior son, who many of you know, and he has applied near, far, small, big. He has 2 acceptances already, and there is literally no front runner. And I've heard that people wind up on campuses and they say, this is it, I see myself here, or they wind up on campuses and they say, this is not for me. But he is equal. He loves them all. So was anybody in that situation where you sort of had choices, and what was the thing that made that choice? I've heard that like the last school you go to, visit is the one you go to. I mean, I've heard all kinds of different things, but we've gone back to places, and they're all equally wonderful. So, has anybody been in that situation?
Very much so.
Very much. He's calling you tonight.
You can see him at lunch, actually.
I think that, well, for me specifically, I'm very easygoing, just kind of like roll with the flow. So for the whole college process was really against me. In that sense, you get very particular, but even in general sense, at the end of the process, it starts becoming more complicated because you have these options, usually to get an early decision. It gets into those later months. So what I did, and I'm happy I did it, is I kind of sat down and went back to what I originally wanted, kind of the 3 or 4 things that I put at the top of my board. You know, I wanted good weather, I wanted to go to the best school I could get into, and I wanted like good people and experience. So once I put those 3 things down, I kind of cleared it up, made the decision much easier. So go back to the basics would be my advice.
And I think it's also important for the kids to kind of, not be too caught up on this idea of early decision, and not think that they have to apply early decision to a college that has a great name but they don't really want to go to. I mean, I applied early decision to Brown, and I loved Brown for 5 years. I loved it since my whole life, and I wanted to go there so bad. But then when I was deferred, I realized that I had applied to NYU at the time, and I realized when I was deferred that Brown didn't have anything to offer me, but New York had everything to offer me. And it kind of took that to help me realize what I really wanted. And I'm at the perfect school, and the name of Brown is kind of what blinded me a little bit. So I think it's important for kids to kind of just take a step back and know what they really want in a college.
One thing that helped me a lot I was torn between the 2 schools. One thing that my parents said to me, no matter where we went, where we looked, was, can you see yourself being there for 4 years? Because there were some ways I'd look, and I'd have a great time. Like, I enjoyed the tour, I liked school a lot. Then it's like, I see myself being in the same place for 4 years straight. And then thinking about that narrowed it down significantly for me, between schools. So that's something I'd suggest to do with your kids.
There are a bunch of early decision students here, so that would be one and done.
Okay.
I mean, they intended to apply to a lot, but the rest of you.
How many were early decision?
7? Yeah.
I submitted 5
I was early decision, but I had my other applications pretty much done anyway. Because if I didn't get in on the 10th of December, January 1st, all your other applications are due. And you have only 20 days to do all your other applications wouldn't have been good. So yeah, like I got in, I spent all this time doing my other applications, but I would have much rather been safe than sorry if I
Maybe
did
the
not.
phone fire, right?
Yeah.
And so how many did you do then? This year?
I think I had 7 other applications ready, so that would have been 8 total.
And that's hard to get yourself to do, and that's something actually when you talk to the students this afternoon, if you could impress it upon them. We had a lot of seniors this year who were doing some serious scrambling because they didn't need that advice. And you think had a great break as a result, you know? Other people on the number of colleges or?
My total was 5, but in reality it was 3 because 2 of them I just kind of threw in there. So I didn't apply to many schools.
Yeah, I did like 10, but I remember Gabe throwing in a couple at the end, and that makes it sound bad. Like you still do it to your best, but I would actually suggest doing that because you really don't know what options kind of arise. I remember I wasn't looking at Michigan at all, and I did the Michigan app, and I was like, they like deferred half the country last year. So they deferred me like 47 times. I think I'm still deferred. And they deferred me. But like I was, by the end, I talked to a lot of people there. I was really considering it. So even though at first I wasn't, I really did. So it was like 10. But it sometimes works just doing an app if it's if it's within realm, kind of easy enough to do.
For me, although I did get an early decision to Richmond, I really figured out in the college process the type of college that I wanted. So there might not necessarily be one specific school that is right for your kid, but for me, I just wanted more like rural and smaller, but everyone's different. So for me, that was the most important thing, just to find out the type of college that I liked, and I think I would have been happy at any of the colleges that I was looking at.
Did you guys all visit all the ones you looked at? When you say you applied to 5, you only visited 2. Do you visit them all?
You kind of wait to hear like sometimes if you don't get into these couple, then I'll go visit them. That's how I feel. Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. For me, I did look at all my schools because they were pretty close by, but I think everyone's different.
It's just if some schools, smaller schools and schools that are within a reasonable proximity to GA, if you don't visit, that could be a strike against you in the admission process. Sometimes larger schools like Nick applied to some larger schools that they don't care about that sort of thing. They don't track the visit. Where other people apply to smaller places that you absolutely have to visit.
I applied to 13 schools, and I tried to visit. I visited almost all of them. I spent my spring break junior year with my dad. We flew around to see a bunch of schools. Because I was looking at schools pretty far away. I was looking at schools in California, but somehow I ended up north in the snow, and still not sure how that one happened. But like I said before, I really do think it's a good idea to visit because, like John was saying too, you have to live in this place for 4 years. So it's you want to get a feel for what it's like there. You want to get a feel for the student body, and you really just want to know that I'm going to be happy here for the next 4 years of my life.
Like I said earlier, I applied to about 17 performance-based schools, so there's no way I could visit all of them. But also something that helped in the application process was finding 2 just like academic schools. Like if worse came to absolute worst, I didn't get in anywhere for musical theater. I had some options of schools that I just really liked and would be happy to go to anyways. So I think probably the best thing I did in this whole process was applying early action to Elon. Early action is not binding, and I really liked the school. So I could go into this whole process knowing, like, I have a place I would just be happy to attend.
Just going off what Rachel said about the importance, I guess, of visiting beforehand, I went into the process thinking I went to school with 12 or 14,000 people, and then I got on these campuses, and I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I just felt lost, and I knew that I wanted a smaller school. So I think if I hadn't visited beforehand, I would have wasted a lot of time applying to schools that I actually had no interest in going to. So once I started visiting and I saw smaller schools, I realized the size I wanted, and it kind of narrowed it down and then made the application process easier, knowing exactly what I wanted, versus applying to all these different schools that in reality I wouldn't be